different shades of the day, and the one-eyed furry toy that lies upon the bed.
Don't worry, Mum, I'm going to tell everything, everything. I'm going to tell you a full story. I love you so much. I love you so much. You're not forgotten. Face to face,
Nothing could get in the way, but now the memories of men are haunting her days, and the craving never fades.
Hey Dad, just turn around. You look cool in those sunnies. Look like a cool dude. You look like Frank Sinatra. The coolest couple in Croydon. Okay, let's go.
She goes searching for the man long forgiven, not forgotten.
Okay, this is Mum's logbook. Tuesday, 25th of April. At 5 o'clock, phone call announcing moving to Holy Spirit. Shock. Charlie. Tomorrow, Trish and Paul are coming. They're going to start stripping the fucking place. Oh my God. They just, like shock and awe, they just put it on me. Brother terrorised Dad into his heart condition.
Okay.
He terrorised Dad into his heart
It's a
condition.
beauty.
He stole Mum's portrait, this one for 6 weeks. He moved in on fucking Petersham.
Beautiful.
Trish arrives 2 hours later, sets Mum into a spin. Mum tells her to get out and go home. Trish says to Mum, "You disinherited me," before ordering me to throw out clothes. You're getting ready to punch? This is where I get it from.
And hit him in the stomach. And it doesn't tickle.
Good on you, darling.
And just get it for hitting you. Let's go.
Da, 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 da.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's lovely.
The group's ideology is used to justify the abuse, and abuse is used to teach the group's ideology. The activities are kept secret from society at large as they violate norms and laws.
Yeah, Gwen, thank you. Thank you.
Hates both of us. Thursday 27th, 8 a.m, 2 loads carried to Dad's room while Mum's sleeping. When Trish finally leaves, Mum gets on my scooter and tries to leave in her socks. Tells me to come with her. It's fight or flight. You live. And I'm here with her.
told me to say that.
Okay, we're coming to assist her.
Yeah, what do you want to do?
We are coming to assist you, ma'am.
In what?
Torture robs the victim of the most basic modes of relating to reality, and so it is the equivalent of cognitive death.
Sold? Did you say? Yes.
Hygiene, what you want, dress it up and everything.
I'm doing the dressing. Oh my God.
No. You do all the makeup, all the
Okay.
But we come to assist her because now it's with us. Okay, we have to know her.
Okay,
It's
I
enough.
understand.
We want to know her.
I understand, of course
Okay.
you do.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
I
Remember,
I only have 2 hands.
I'm not saying that, but darling, this is a
Of
hazard
course,
for you.
today it's all out.
Okay.
Today it will be set up
Okay.
perfectly.
Okay, I will try to do that.
That we're bringing.
Inevitably, in the aftermath of torture, its victims feel helpless and powerless. This loss of control over one's life and body is manifested physically in impotence, attention deficits, and insomnia. This is often exacerbated by the disbelief many torture victims encounter, especially if they are unable to produce scars or other objective proof of their ordeal. Victims of psychological torture, verbal torture, are disadvantaged compared to victims of bodily torture because they cannot produce visible, photographable proof.
Of course, your daughter, you come every day, but we are now the carer for her because it's a nursing home.
Language cannot communicate such an intensely private experience as pain, and the types of torment to be inflicted.
Good. Now, Dr. Hislo is coming to take over.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, so...
I have, just with, it's none of your business, but my brother is not, I have an issue with my brother, and I'll be talking about that with Dr. Hislo. But anyway, because I am my mother's carer, and...
But now, you will stop that position because now it's a nursing home. You are
But I'm still her daughter.
Pain is also unbearable in that it is resistant to language. All our interior states of consciousness, emotional, perceptual, cognitive, and somatic, can be described as having an object in the external world. This affirms our capacity to move beyond the boundaries of our body into the external, shareable world. This is the space in which we interact and communicate with our environment.
But the thing is, you just get paid whatever. You don't love her, you don't know her, you don't know what her needs are. You need me to teach you how to take care of my mother.
The psychologist Shirley Spitz offers this powerful overview of the contradictory nature of torture in a seminar titled The Psychology of Torture. She says, torture is an obscenity in that it joins what is most private with what is most public. Torture entails all the isolation and extreme solitude of privacy, with none of the usual security embodied therein. Torture entails at the same time all the self-exposure of the utterly public, with none of its possibilities for camaraderie or shared experience.
Why we want you just to do the makeup and leave us to do that because we are professional, we are nurses.
Yes,
and we know we work with these
Yes,
people
I know,
for
but it's
many
also
years.
my mother's home, and I'm her daughter, and I've been her full-time carer for 2 years. So it's not like we have to transition this, right? That's why I'm here, to transition
So
it.
you
Sie wollen deine Orientierung zerstören. Du sollst ins Schlingern kommen. Menschen, die du schätzt, werden geringschätzig abgetan.
have to allow us to take over.
Yeah.
And we will take over. We will know you, mother.
Alles, was dir wertvoll ist, soll in diesen Zimmern seinen Wert verlieren.
Everybody, when they come here for the first time, we ask the family to allow us to
I
get
understand
another
that.
person
I understand.
without interference.
I understand.
Kenneth Pope, in Torture, a chapter he wrote for the Encyclopedia of Women and Gender, quotes Harvard psychiatrist Judith Herman. It is very tempting to take the side of the perpetrator. All the perpetrator asks is that the bystander do nothing. He appeals to the universal desire to see, hear, and speak no evil. The victim, on the contrary, asks the bystander to share the burden of pain. The victim demands action, engagement, and remembering.
I
So
understand.
you have to allow, because now
Yeah,
we
but-
are the carer
Yeah,
of
but
them.
don't do this to me. I am her daughter.
No,
You don't love her,
I
darling.
know.
So you
I
be very
know.
careful how you speak to me. I am her daughter. You're being paid to look after my mother. I'm watching also how you take care of my
Another
mother.
thing,
Friday the 5th. Nurse Anna sacked me on arrival and told me Paul was next of kin for Mum and Dad and chose their Mum's doctor, both their doctor, Dr. Hislop, and told me off for not being organised. So from the first day, Nurse Anna told me off and basically degraded me in front of Mum, and that just freaked Mum out. Huh. Saturday 6th, Mum says she wants her home and family back. She's lonely, scared when I leave. Sunday 7th, Mum hasn't slept in 2 nights. Wednesday 10th of May, Mum realised today she's incarcerated. She's angry, sad, wouldn't eat lunch. Even pushing to get your own people is not good. You're right, because Anna pushed me away. Well, that's not going to happen again.
You're murder with me.
Darling, I'm with you. I am. You should have been put down to bed this afternoon. Tomorrow I put you back down to bed. You know, they push me away and then they don't look after you.
If you say that, they're putting it over.
Yeah, they're putting it over. Yeah, wear the Queen's hat. Show them who's Queen.
Yeah.
Bloody hide of them. This is why I didn't want you in a nursing home. They'll drug you next.
Look, the big thing is here, we could have taken this and be able, if you show that you want to go through there and get in there
I'm going to.
and be the boss.
I'm going to. I videoed Mum in dining room speaking about her betrayal, blaming me. Staff asked me to turn camera off in dining room. A man was admitted to the ward. He is very loud and Mum doesn't like him. Mum doesn't want to live with strange men. So Mum would never have chosen to live with men, in a ward with men. She's a very modest, private woman. Like, you know, I mean, and she's separated from her husband. He's in another ward. And from the beginning, they put her in wards with men. Oh, it's terrible. Friday 19th of May, Audrey mocked Mum at lunch. They sit her straight across from her while she bitches and whispers about Mum with Veronica. I've asked them not to sit Mum there, and they don't hear me. So they'd sit Mum in front of this, you know, other resident who was really bitchy. And they were sort of like trying to ban me from lunches at that point to, you know, acclimatise Mum to being lonely and feeling abandoned. And I stopped doing that. I started, when I saw where they were seating her, I started to have lunches with her, meals.
we want to talk in the office because you are not allowed to come 12 o'clock in the night.
But she was awake. She was awake.
That is why there is a nurse here, my darling. There is a nurse here.
Yes, but Mum wanted to, but all I
But you
did
can't
was
come-
I pat her
you
head.
can't come at 12 o'clock
All
at
right,
night.
okay.
Because you interrupt.
Okay, all
There is
right.
noise.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Try to understand.
Okay,
because
I understand. All
it's
right.
hard for you and it's hard for her.
I understand.
You know, to separate,
Okay.
to
All
separate from her.
I want her to be happy.
You know, to separate,
Okay.
to
All right.
separate from her.
I want her to be happy. I want you to live with me. That's what I'm going to...
You lost now.
I didn't lose. It's all... I know you trusted me. And you had reason to trust me. But I had no idea they were going to do this.
There you are, under the dirt.
Under the dirt, Mama. We're all under
My
the dirt.
children, no, it's not your children. The children that came through with my body.
Okay, Tuesday 23rd of May. Mum lost appetite. Mum has begun saying, don't hit me, don't hurt me. And wincing when I go to undress her. New behaviour, eh? Don't hit me, don't hurt me. This is because of this rough manhandling she received.
Gradually, the victims lose their mental resilience and sense of freedom. They feel alien, unable to communicate.
Well, this is why Mum doesn't feel like she's in her own country. She keeps talking about, where's my country? I'm cargo. Because all around Mum she hears, or the, you know what tell you to talk very loud to her, because they think if they talk loud, she will understand them. And she says, you know, she says a lot, can you not so loud?
Torture splinters early childhood grandiose narcissistic fantasies of uniqueness, omnipotence, invulnerability, and impenetrability.
What did you say? Everyone's stealing from me. I know, that's how it feels. Everyone's stealing from you. They are. I told them not to go into... Yeah, I know. I told them not to go into your room. They went into your room.
But torture enhances, on the other hand, the fantasy of merger with an idealized and omnipotent, though malicious, other, the inflictor of agony.
Do they smell of it?
New behaviour, eh? Don't hit me, don't hurt me. This is because of this rough manhandling she received. Okay, so that's May 23rd.
The presence of an all-powerful other with whom to merge, without the security of the other's benign intentions. A further obscenity of torture is the inversion it makes of intimate human relationships. The interrogation is a form of social encounter in which the normal rules of communicating, of relating, of intimacy are being manipulated.
Wednesday 24th we visit Dad in Concord Hospital. Get a cab there and back. Mum about Dad, she woke up thinking about Dad. Her husband's in hospital. And we'd been told by first Dr. Hislop and then the nurse on his ward that, you know, after the blood test came back, well, you know, heart failure, organs go next, you know, Hislop's seen it all before. So they basically told me they're going to bring in palliative care and he's dying. So they created a break there, right, a shock. Okay, so we had the shock, we had the grief. They had no right to say that. Dr. Hislop's not God. She might have seen that happen, big deal. Doesn't mean it happens with everybody. My dad's mother lived for years after, you know, on half a heart, to 92, eh? So Dad has that sort of resilience in him. And don't you go writing my father off. God decides when he goes, not you, Dr. Hislop, or you, the nurse. So, but what they did was, they basically just, it was like, yeah, they were preparing me like he's going to die. So then I'm sort of like having to like, well, he's not, you know, but then he ends up going into hospital and it's just like, oh my God, is this all over? Ritual abuse is perpetrated by men and women from all walks of life and geographical areas, both rural and urban. The percent of the population that perpetuates or that is victimised is unknown. Perpetuators have been classified as family or transgenerational. This tradition can go back for generations. Thursday 25th. Mum's so touched, traumatised from the showering in this Christina ward with Nurse Anna and her mob. You know, 2 people showering her, rushing her in, rushing her through. It was just like rape. And she was so touched, traumatised by Thursday 25th, she wouldn't let the hairdresser rinse her hair. And that would be, the hairdresser can tell you that. And they were going like, making out like Mum was difficult. Like, this is what they do. They traumatise her and then blame her. Traumatise her and then drug her. Friday 26th of May, it finally sinks into Mum that she's been done. She says, my children put me under the dirt. She's very angry, wants her money.
The sufferer, the victim, rages at her own victimhood and at the resulting multiple dysfunctions. She feels shamed by her new disabilities, and responsible or even guilty somehow for her predicament and the dire consequences borne by her nearest and dearest.
Thursday 1st of June, we're informed that we're moving to the Dominic ward tomorrow. Another move, another dislocation, but happy to be leaving the hell block. This was the punishment that Nurse Anna promised with sedation and high care of Mum if she didn't behave. So she promised that in the 2nd week, right, when Mum's first misdemeanor, when Mum started freaking out about realising she's incarcerated, and Mum went into someone's room and stole their comb and whatever, and Nurse Anna had threatened that if Mum misbehaved, she'd be getting the dementia ward and medication. So they were already threatening her with this in May. And then by June, they come through on half their promise, right? The dementia ward, which of course is the preparation for the sedation after they get rid of me.
She detests her helplessness. Her sense of self-worth, self-esteem are crippled. In a nutshell, torture victims suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Their strong feelings of anxiety, guilt and shame are also typical of victims of childhood abuse, domestic violence and rape.
And then when I came back in, again for the second time, Father John has taken all his clothes off in the dining room. So my mother has to witness like a naked old priest. And you know what? His room is in exactly the same position as Dad's room. So I found when Mum was looking for Dad and grieving for him the other night, she went to that room because it's the same position as Dad's room in the ward opposite. But it's not Dad, is it? It's a priest who likes taking his clothes off in public. That's his dementia. Why should my mother share a ward with this? Half an hour later, my mother is extremely still, extremely depressed. I've given Mum porridge, but she's desolate. This has gone on for a month. A month. No church, no exercise, no Dad. I mean, how dare they? Mum's getting arthritis in her body. She's losing her coordination. She's depressed. This control order needs to be lifted immediately. Come on, honey, lay here. Put your head down. Put your legs up like this. How does that feel? Another jumper came back from the laundry, shrunk to a doll's size. The loss is endless. The other residents, and they do, I've witnessed, walk in here any time. Mum has no dignity in this. She has no privacy. She has to look at naked old priests. Mummy? Mama, come on. Mummy? Oh my gosh. Mummy? Mama? Mama? They won't let my mother walk. She needs walking and she needs to be social to stay healthy. I told her this. I don't care. And she's standing in front of it waiting for me. Bring Gwenny home. I don't care about my mother's care. What is she doing here? This is my mother. What time is it? 2:30.
Operative Zersetzungsmaßnahmen sollten immer an der schwächsten Stelle beginnen. Mit dem Angriff auf die schwächste Stelle soll erreicht werden, dass die Zielperson oder Personen am härtesten getroffen werden.
Came here at 3:15 and Mum was at the front
What is it now?
waiting for me. And this is what I mean, she needs high supervision. If I'm not here, she frets. Because
What is it?
Dear Sylvia, I just left you a message. On the 26th of September, I send Sylvia Heidenreich the video of the demented masturbator. I tell her about, I'm cut down to 4 hours. I tell her about Mum's dangerous deterioration. I tell her about Mum's sprained hand. I tell her that I asked the Chinese nurse to bandage it, and she didn't. So, you know, I go into all that detail in this email, Gwen Kennedy's Dangerous Accommodation, that I sent to Sylvia Heidenreich on September 26th, Tuesday, and then I ask her to watch the video and, you know, do something, some action to save Mum. Of course she doesn't want to save Mum, does she?
My hand and the hand.
Which hand? That hand
The
hurts?
damn hand.
Show me. It's swollen.
You saw that?
Compared to this one.
He did that to me.
It's swollen. It's a
He did
sprain.
He did that. He had to do that. He did that for me. He did.
Convention means the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman or Degrading Treatments of Punishment, adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations at New York on 10th of December, my mother's birthday, 1984.
Take them and take them.
Mum just said they want to take our friendship.
Friend there.
Yeah.
I don't know. A friend there. And there.
I know, they want to take our friendship.
Yes.
I know.
We have taken those things.
Yeah, they took all those things. And they've got to give them back.
Who took those?
They've got to give them back.
Who took them?
Oh,
Oh, they took them.
they took them.
Yes, they were.
They sure did. And then they kept you a prisoner, isolated.
No, we don't know what to go to say.
I know.
They might come out of our visit. They could take that out and take that to us. To take out. Let's run.
Let's run.
There.
Let's run. That's right. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
And I'm tired.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah, I'm going to...
Who's that? Jeff.
Torture victims feel anxious because the perpetrator's behavior is seemingly arbitrary and unpredictable, or mechanically and inhumanely regular.
My mum was a good, tax-paying, middle-class woman. My dad got dementia, and my siblings coerced him into changing the will, her will, and they pushed it right through. It's totally dodgy how they got her in there. They didn't acknowledge me as carer, they didn't ask me, they didn't follow any of the principles of guardianship. It's like I've been following to the rule, and why? They don't follow the rule. I've been keeping the books, they don't keep the books.
The torturer invades the victim's body, pervades her psyche, and possesses her mind.
Now the new rule is I make her sleep too much. No, I don't.
Space and time are warped by sleep deprivation. The self, the I, is shattered.
I'm the one who takes my mother outside and sits in the sun with her. I'm the one who started the garden with my mother, bought the bucket and the... but you know what they did after that? They came in and planted their own flowers. So instead of, oh, that's lovely what you're doing, let's all plant something together, no. They bought the recreation person. So it's a consumer culture. You're not allowed to be creative. You're not allowed to be proactive, participatory in any sense of the word.
Social institutions are perceived as precariously poised on the verge of an ominous Kafkaesque mutation. Nothing is safe. Nothing is credible. Nothing, to a large extent, is real anymore after torture.
Anything about not being able to visit her, that's sort of got nothing to do with me, and I don't know anything about that.
It's beyond us.
Okay. So if you can help her, and we'll just take her out to the car, we'll drive her back tonight, and you just speak to a lawyer first thing tomorrow morning.
Well, I'll meet you there. I'll walk around. You know, you can't just, this is too traumatic for her, you know.
Dependency needs are elicited by the interrogator, but not so that they may be met as in close relationship, but to weaken and confuse. Independence that is offered in return for betrayal is a lie. Silence is intentionally misinterpreted, either as confirmation of information or as guilt for complicity.
And they're in charge of her doctor, but they don't get her to see a doctor. And the doctor they gave her was a doctor my brother lined up because he's a drugging doctor. He's drugged my father. This is why they've got her. Do you know they've got her on no exercise, no church for 2 months, no seeing my father, no seeing me. She sits there, vegetates with dangerous people. She banged on the door and then threw her tea under the door. Okay? So these sort of things happen once a day. Gosh. Oh. Even having to listen to that, you know, it's so bad for mental health every day with not getting out. It's really bad. Let's go outside for a bit. Donna, you finished?
Is there anything else to be said?
Oh no, I'd just love to fucking get a gag for that woman.
There's really
Oh, all day, all night, all day.
the feed will be good enough. Won't be. Yeah.
Shutting that door. What door? That one there. No. I don't know.
No, don't do what he says. Don't do what he says. Because a bloody liar. What he does. Bloody lies.
I was
24
told that
hours a
she
day.
went to church this morning.
In the little compound, that's not church.
Oh,
Mum's
you
at
mean church
Enfield.
outside?
We used to go 3 times a week. She's an Enfield girl. But when the little family arrived, they saw my mother was drugged to the eyeballs and soulless and did not respond to the children because children are hope and mother has none. They have drugged my mother. How dare they do this before the appeal process is over? Again, it's as though they know how it's going to end, and so have wasted no time in getting Mum drugged by Dr. Hislop, of course. What did I say? Mum apparently kept saying, they took him away and you're on their side too. The children told me this. Their father told me that she was so drugged that she was completely soulless on some sort of drugs that you would only give dangerous patients, and my mother has never been dangerous, but I always said she was in danger, and everything I said was not crazy but true. Everything I said and feared has actually happened, right down to the sexual abuse. I am writing to inquire if you would like to have lunch with Mrs. Kennedy, my mother, at Holy Spirit Croydon on Friday 22nd of December 2017 between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Please note that should you wish to attend, you will need to advise Ramila Pockerell by close of business tomorrow, 21st of December. So this was sent on the 20th. 2017, so the arrangements for your lunch can be made while you are at the Holy Spirit, if you are to comply with the Visitors Code of Conduct and your signed undertaking, which would include that you treat all staff with respect, that you only visit Miss Kennedy in public areas in the service, and that you do not take any video footage while at the service, and you will leave promptly at 1 p.m.
The tortured, the victims, have nothing familiar to hold on to. Family, home, personal belongings, loved ones, language, name, territory, all dissipate.
Yeah.
Right, so it's 20 past 3, Sunday 10th of December. 10 minutes ago we left the nursing home where Gwen's being kept. We were there for maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because we didn't see much point being there longer. I'm not a doctor, but I've had Thorazine and Largactil and things in my time. And there is no question she was doped to the eyeball. She was absolutely doped to the eyeball. She couldn't speak virtually at all. Her expression didn't change the entire time we were there. There was just nothing. It was just, there was no soul. I asked if I could, I told them that I just wanted to introduce my kids, to her. And they asked a lot of questions about who I was, and that's fine. I offered to show ID, that I was legitimate and just a friend of, friends of friends and family and that sort of thing. They hovered. They were obviously really suspect about who I was, which is fine. I understand that, but you know, they didn't want me to get a photo, and because she was so out of it, I got really upset and I cried. I just burst into tears. I couldn't help myself, and all of a sudden, you know, they've taken some pity and said, okay, you can get a photo, you know, of Gwen with the kids. But I mean, Gwen wasn't there, mate. Like there was nothing there. It was fucking awful, and it ripped my guts out. And we had to go because it was awful. I'm sorry, mate. I would have liked to stay there, but I mean, it's like she didn't know she was there, let alone us.
Bystanders resent the tortured because these victims make them feel guilty, and they are ashamed for having done nothing to prevent the atrocity. The victims threaten the sense of security and the much-needed belief in predictability, justice, and rule of law. The victims, on their part, do not believe that it is possible to effectively communicate to outsiders what they have been through. The torture chambers are another galaxy. This is how Auschwitz was described by the author K. Setnik in his testimony at the Eichmann trial in Jerusalem in 1961. He called it another planet. But more often, continued attempts to repress fearful memories result in psychosomatic illnesses, a process called conversion. The victim wishes to forget the torture, to avoid re-experiencing the often life-threatening abuse, and to shield her human environment from the horrors. In conjunction with victims' pervasive distrust, this is frequently interpreted as hypervigilance or even paranoia. It seems that the victim cannot win. Torture is forever.